Good morning and welcome to Perspectives this 8th day, January 2021. It's about 2 minutes past 9 o'clock this morning. On Perspectives today, we would be looking at the welfare of Nigerians from the human capital development angle. How well are Nigerians doing when it comes to, the quality of life that they live, the value of the Nigerian life. As a Nigerian, what value, what premium does your life possess? How much value do you as a Nigerian have when it comes to contributing to the national economy, when it comes to your health, the education, the quality of education that you get, and nutrition, as well as skills that you acquire over time, over the period of your life. Now, if you want to quantify or value lives, it would be based on certain values such as health, education, nutrition, skills that you have. For the economy to grow, we would require you. It would be necessary for you to have certain skills, that you can contribute, that can, generate revenue or, contribute to the economy of the nation. And if that's so, you need to be healthy for you to acquire such skills or education. We know that in the labor force, all right, of every nation, there are certain things that are considered education, basically, and skill. If you do not have education, it would be hard for you to. It would be difficult for you to be employed. If you also do not have skills or relevant skills in relevant areas, it would be extremely difficult as well to be employed. We recently hear about 774,000 jobs that the federal government is providing for every local government in Nigeria. About 1,000 people would be employed, and these would be mostly unskilled laborers, people who really do not have so much skills. And we're asking, is that the way to go? Considering the fact that these people would be paid 20,000 naira for 3 months. After that, what's going to happen to them? Is that what employment or, empowerment of citizens is? Is that the way to go to boost our economy? Is that the way to go to, put monies back in the pockets of people? How well or how much will they serve the people? If a man collects 20,000 naira per month, what is he going to do with it? Is he, after working for 30 days, is it better than empowering a person with certain skills that can help them fend for themselves and provide for themselves going forward? After 3 months, what's going to happen to these people? When the program expires or the scheme expires, what's going to happen to them? Where do they go back to? Because I don't see a situation where the 20,000 naira earned over 3 months can be used to invest. That's going to be really difficult, considering the economy as it is, and how the inflation rate, a double-digit inflation rate that's eating up. When you go to the markets, you can hardly buy anything. Is that the way to go? Is that wisdom? Why we're not looking at empowering the people with skills that can help them become even better citizens, that can add value to their lives, and they can go into the work, the labor force, and actually earn for themselves. In Nigeria, when we talk about skills and skill acquisition, we always talk about how people can do laundry soap and all that stuff, but the skills that people can acquire over time. Why do we have these people going to learn carpentry? Why do we have them going to learn what you call it now, welding? All this stuff that can, at the end of the day, continue to put food on their table. All right, those are questions that we're asking this morning. Now let's get to that's about skill acquisition. Now that's about skills. If people need to develop skills in their lifetime to be able to to contribute better to the economy, looking at the human capital development and the human development index, people need to acquire certain skills to be able to contribute to society and also make their lives better. Now, moving away from that one, talking about the education aspect or angle of the human capital development, that pillar is one that has suffered so much over time. we say it all the time that education in Nigeria is one of the worst sectors as it is. This constant back and forth of down-tooling of people who should be naturally in schools teaching people. ASU was on strike most of the time. The public education has almost nothing to write home about. At the moment, people would rather even send their children to private schools that they cannot afford rather than send them to public schools. The primary schools, we have people who go through primary school and yet not even know how to spell their names. In the public schools, people go through secondary school and yet they don't know what simple arithmetic is, and even how to make good sentences. At the end of the day, you look at the economy and you look at the future. What does the future really hold if we do not have people who cannot get quality education? Over time, in the next 15 years, in the next 20 years, what kind of people would we have, coming up to be leaders in this country? Would it be the same people who have baked education? Would it be the same people who could not spell their names in primary school, or who did not learn proper sentence construction? Yes, we've always said, education is not about English and the English language, but then there's a lot that it has to do. How can these people represent us as a nation when they go out? These are questions that we are asking, and how can we develop our educational sector, the education in Nigeria, so that people can acquire quality education and at the end of the day be able to earn for themselves and contribute to society. We see people leave the shores of this country to get education and they never return. They never come back to contribute to Nigeria as their home country. All right, people become professors in the United States, in the UK, in almost every other part of the world, and never come back to also, be a part of what's going on in Nigeria. Hardly do they come back. Some of them, yes, do come back to contribute, but then hardly do you see these people coming back to contribute. When Nigerians step outside of the shores of this country to study, they become shining lights. They excel academically, but at home, what do we have? If we cannot provide quality education for our children, what does the future say? We always say that the children are the future of our nation. If they cannot get quality education, what then is the future? All right, we see these things happen on a daily basis. We live with this. All right, we're not developing education. We say it all the time. The UN, recommends about 26% of budgetary allocation for education annually, but then we have less than 10%. Sometimes I think the highest we've had is 11% go to education in this nation in our annual budget. What are we doing? What are we doing to the future of our dear country, Nigeria? Now, leaving education now, let's talk about health. Another pillar of human capital development. How well have we, what kind of healthcare does Nigerians have, or do Nigerians get? An average Nigerian cannot walk into a hospital and get proper health care. I'm going to drive this with a little story. A couple of weeks ago, a colleague of ours, his dad had a health emergency, and they rushed him to the hospital. Rather than treat the case as an emergency, they kept asking series of unnecessary questions. They kept turning them from one hospital to another, or from one corner of the hospital to another, until the man passed on. If you were in that position, how would that make you feel? How would you feel? This is what many Nigerians go through. When certain people feel a headache, they leave the shores of this country. How about those who cannot afford it? What's the future for the ordinary Nigerian when it comes to healthcare? No, a lot of people are struggling with healthcare insurance, and now another angle would be the fact that most people are not even aware. Nigerians are entitled to a lot when it comes to healthcare. health entitlements, the few health entitlements that Nigerians have, you know, there is the NHIS, there is the what we have the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, and all the monies that that's allocated to all of that. If you get a health insurance, if you register for health insurance or get a health insurance in Nigeria, register with NHIS or any of those platforms, the basic healthcare fund and the rest. There's monies coming to that. There's monies allocated for all of these, so that even PHCs and state hospitals, can administer proper care. But when you go to these hospitals, what do you see? Do you get the proper attention that is required? Are these hospitals equipped enough to manage, health emergencies? Are they equipped enough to, manage certain ailments that you may have? Do they even have testing, facilities? Do they have, the proper, even electricity? Sometimes it's hard. I heard somebody say a surgery was conducted with lanterns and all that some stuff a couple of years ago, and you wonder what is happening, what the future would be for Nigerians, if we continue like this. When COVID-19 came, a lot of Nigerians screamed. It felt like a moment of epiphany for Nigerians because, most of the hospitals that we have do not have respirators or, what do they call them now? Yes, respirators. Yes, and all that can be used to sustain patients who come into the hospitals with fatal COVID-19 cases. All right, if that was the case, if that is the case, why haven't we seen rapid response or development in the area of health infrastructure? Why haven't we're not seeing proper ventilators and all coming in? So that if people have, emergencies, they can be taken care of. Some Nigerians don't even know, or a lot of us do not even know what we're entitled to when it comes to even primary health care and, secondary health entitlement. As a Kaduna indigent or resident, I'm going to try as much as I can to reel out some of the things, that you are entitled to. As a citizen, you're entitled at primary healthcare level. At primary level, you're entitled to general consultation with prescribed drugs from accredited PHC facilities. That's the primary healthcare facilities. You're also entitled to health education for prevention of diseases. You're entitled to primary surgery. How many people know that you're entitled to surgeries at the primary healthcare facility? Which means that in the PHC in Narayi, the PHC in Bernawa, the PHC in Tudunwada, the PHC in Rigasa, you can work in there as a Nigerian citizen and you would be entitled to minor surgeries. Okay, how many times do we do this? And these are things that we can get that are supposed to be paid for, provided by government. These are supposed to be provided by government. You are entitled to primary care surgery. But is that available? How many people walk into the hospitals, primary health cares, and they get, primary surgeries or minor surgeries? I doubt that. You're also entitled to primary care pediatrics, which means that every hospital or primary health care should have a pediatric doctor. Also, there is primary internal medicine for adults. There is also HIV and AIDS, sexual transmitted diseases. You're entitled to treatments and care in that regard. You are also entitled to primary care mental health management. So every primary health care facility should also have a mental health expert. Do we know that? Do we have those? How do we hold government accountable if we don't even know what we're entitled to? That means that if you walk into a primary healthcare facility, you should be able to demand to see someone who would take care of you mentally, someone who is a mental health care expert. These are entitlements, rather. You're also entitled to primary, maternal, national, neonatal, and child health services. Primary care, maternal, neonatal, and child health services. That's an entitlement. It's due to you as a Nigerian citizen when you walk into a primary healthcare facility. Those are things that you should demand for. But do we have these? I tried to do a bit of investigation when I saw this, and I was told one of the PHCs, people who went there, these women who go for antenatal and the rest of it, and they said, well, we still pay for some of the medication that we get. We still pay for testing and all that, and well, it revealed that these facilities may be there, but some people still have to pay for services that they should be getting for free. Moving on from that one, you also at primary level are entitled to care emergency services. Primary care emergency services. So if you're bringing an emergency patient and the primary health care, especially when it's around the things that they should be able to take care of, you should get that. Now, I've heard people say, a PHC doesn't have a doctor. You probably have a CHU, or you have a matron or somebody, or a nurse or nurses, that no doctors or doctors should not be at primary healthcare facilities. But I don't think that's correct, because or I don't believe that's correct, because looking at all these entitlements, a doctor or a physician should be in that facility. And also, you are entitled to basic laboratory investigations. What I said earlier about women who go for antenatal and go for all those other care, also when they pay for laboratory services, that's probably not supposed to be so. But what do we have? The reverse. At secondary level, just so you know, you're also entitled to consultation with prescribed drugs from accredited SHC facilities. You're also entitled to emergencies occurring outside the usual residence or accredited HCP. It's also, you're entitled to admission for 15 days cumulative per year for medical attention and 20 days cumulative for surgical admissions. So if you walk into a state health facility, for instance, that's secondary, you should be entitled to, all these in Kaduna State, you should be entitled to 15 days of admission per year. Medical admission in the hospital, 15 days. And if you have a surgery, 20 days cumulative for surgical admissions. Did you know that before now? You also should be entitled to treatment and procedures that cannot be handled at primary level but covered within the basic maternal health service providers fund and that. You should be entitled to that as well. HIV, AIDS management, and opportunistic infections, pediatrics, you're entitled to that as well. Internal medicine, that's for adults. You're entitled to surgery. You're entitled to dental care. You're also entitled to ophthalmology, ear, nose, and throat, physiotherapy, and laboratory investigations. So in all, at secondary level, you have about 13 entitlements. But how do you access all of this if you don't even have a health insurance? You're not registered. You're not captured in the National Health or Basic Healthcare, Provision Fund. If you do not even know about it, you may not be able to access it. Knowledge, they say, is power. Now that you know, what would you do about it? All right, keep it locked with us on Invicta 98.9. We will be back shortly to get you involved in the conversation this morning. We're talking human capital development. Nutrition is another angle. How well do Nigerians eat, and how good do we eat? When we come back, we will be looking at all of that on the program Perspectives this morning. Stay with us on this side. Welcome back to Perspectives on Invicta 98.9. On the program today, we have been talking the welfare of Nigerians, looking at human capital development, the pillars of human capital development, and how it affects all of us. Well, what are we doing? How much do we enjoy? How we, prepared for the future when it comes to all the things that Nigerians, as Nigerian citizens, over time need to acquire to make them better citizens and even improve the economy of our nation. Looking at health, education, skill acquisition, or skills and knowledge, as well as nutrition. Now, Nigeria is said to be one of those nations that's dealing or grappling with a lot of malnutrition as it is. Even the Kaduna state government has a program around that at the moment, and trying to make sure that we curb malnutrition to a high, to the barest minimum. How can we as a people, key into all of these drives and demand for better services, especially when it comes to health, education, knowledge and skill acquisition, and nutrition. We as a people can do better. We need to begin to find out what's due to us, the entitlements that we as Nigerians, or the things that we as Nigerians are entitled to. Now, if we're looking at education and saying that, at this time, it would be difficult to get quality education if maybe you're not, if you don't have the resources to send your kids or your children to private school. How can we manage that practically? If you have more children, it means that you're going to pay more school fees. If you have more children, it means that you're going to spend more on healthcare if you're not getting your health entitlements as a Nigerian. How can we as a people begin to manage these things and make sure that, we are able to raise our kids and give them, quality education, quality healthcare, and so that they can be better citizens and also help in contributing to national development. All right, join the conversation this morning. Talk to us on 081 40,000 989. That is 081 40,000 989 and 070 87 800 989. That is 070 87 800 989. On WhatsApp, you can send us WhatsApp messages 090 989 00989. That is 090 989 00989. I took time to reel out some of your health entitlements, and I hope that you understand them, and you are looking now differently and saying as how you can demand for better service delivery when you walk into any of those facilities. Taking a calls this morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. What's your name?
My name is Julius. I'm calling from Nasarawa.
Julius, let's hear you.
Yes. Why, for me, it's a great challenge in terms of human development in Nigeria, because I see the basic problem that we are not playing politics of development. The politicians and the electorate have a role to play, because in Nigerian electorate are not asking politicians a development question, rather than we prefer what they will give to us to put in our stomach, and then we are looking at the future. So that's why we have these things are going like this in this country. But I think it's the right time for the electorate to begin to demand for the right control like what you are saying in the studio, so as to know the role of government towards its citizens, what they need to do for us. Because I see Nigerian politicians, they are not ready, and the electorate don't understand the process of governance. That's why things are going like this. But I believe it's high time for all citizens to begin to ask the right questions, demand the right thing that government needs to be done, so that all of us can have a better Nigeria. Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much for calling. Yes, great thoughts there. We need to begin to demand more and demand better, and hold our leaders accountable. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. What's your name, sir?
Thank you. I see Madu calling from Idimusa Mando.
I see Madu. Go ahead.
Thank you. The first spokesman or the first scholar has made a point very well. because we the electorate, we need to ask a question, not begging for little things that we are going to put in our pocket. Most of our problems, we go to our representatives demanding our own personal pocket money that we are going to get from them instead of the community. If you watch most of them, they have what we call constituency project. The amount of the money they are taking and how much are they spending on us on that constituency project. That is what we're supposed to ask and know who will represent us in all those areas that we send them to represent. Because you will see a person that come and do a small project that is not worth of even quarter of the money he collected. And he collected that money in our own names to do a work for us. But instead for us to see the work, we are not seeing the work. So they are discerning our money with our names, and we are the ones suffering, calling them to go and represent us. So we have to stop going for our own personal demands, but only community. At least it will be good for us if all the communities will be asking their representatives every quarter, come and give us breakdown of what you done in social community. Let us go and see it. At least it will help us than to leave them doing whatsoever they are doing. Look at local government. I don't think that we have local government again. We are just saying it, we have it. But local government of those days are not the local government of today. You cannot see chairman. You cannot even see councillor. So how can you bring out a project that you, the chairman, have not come to meet you, the councillor have not come to meet you to ask you what you need? So it is high time that we do the needful. At least it will help us to know our representatives better and we know who will represent us. Thank you, Victor, for giving to MIV this morning.
Thank you so much, Icy Madu, for your contribution. Like that angle, it is high time that leadership begins to provide what the people really need, or not what they think or feel is right for the people. What do the people want? What do you as a community want? You have a say. You should make inputs when budget allocations are made. You should also be able to monitor and evaluate the projects in your communities. If there's a project in your community, how well do you know the project? What do you know about that project? How much does it cost? How much is supposed to be spent on that project? Is it actually done? Even when these projects are going on, can you monitor and say that what was budgeted is what's being spent? Can you say that quality work is being done there? How well do Nigerians even monitor and try to hold people accountable when you walk into a hospital and you're not able to be provided, or you're not provided all of these entitlements? Where do you go to? Do you push the case forward, or do you push it further? Do you try to find out why all of that is not there? Why you don't have all of these entitlements coming to you? I was thinking a couple of days ago, why don't we go back to the days where communities were responsible for their schools, if government, as it is, may not be doing so much? Is it possible for us to also provide education for ourselves, for our children, especially at primary school level? If communities can monitor and pay attention to the primary schools and say, this is what is required at these primary schools. When you go to schools, or government schools or public schools, and there are no seats and no chairs and no desks, what do? Have you tried to find out who is responsible for that and why they're not providing all of those things that they are supposed to provide? I heard a story about how one time a school was going to be visited, and by government or people in government, and all of a sudden there were tables and desks and chairs everywhere in that school. Apparently they had been locked up in a store somewhere. What are we doing to the future of our country if children cannot get quality education, cannot even learn in conducive atmospheres? All right, we're still taking your calls now. What are your thoughts regarding all of these? 081 40,000 989 and 070 87 800 9 889. Now that you know your health entitlements, now that you know about your educational entitlements and all, what are you going to do with that information? What are you going to do as a person who lives in a community where there is a PHC or a primary health care center? You know, there's monies budgeted going to the health sector annually. Is it properly utilized? The money is coming to your PHC or primary health care center in your community. Is it properly utilized? Do you have those facilities running well? Do you have the doctors that are supposed to be there? Do you have the nurses? Do you have all of those people who should take care of you when you go to the hospital? If those are not available, why don't you begin to take it up as a community? The government, especially the state government, Kaduna state government, I'm sure is doing a lot to make sure that these things are put in place. It is your responsibility as a citizen to ensure that these entitlements are provided, that everything you're entitled to comes to you. We cannot continue, to allow service providers, especially those in public service, go away with all of these, inappropriate behavior. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Is that Invicta?
This is Invicta 98.9. What's your name, sir?
Yeah, Tunde from Malta.
Tunde, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I think you've just been able to nail the root problem of our dear country, Nigeria. Lack of accountability by those we have entrusted with our common wealth. The wealth that is meant for everybody, we entrusted it into people's hands, and what we do is we turn our backs at them and allow them to do what they like. And that is the root cause of every problem we are facing in this country. Lack of accountability. Even from the COVID-19 contribution that was made, we saw the breakdown of how the money came in, but sincerely, we were not briefed on how the money was spent. Are you with me, sir?
I'm with you. Go ahead today.
So, and this is not supposed to be, because this is people's money. This is our common money. This is our money. In fact, there was a person that donated 10 naira out of that money. 10 naira, it was recorded. So how was it spent? It was not accounted for, even today. You understand? And that is why these politicians play with our intelligence. They will come up and tell us this and tell us that. And at the end of the day, they will not do it and nothing happens to them. They are supposed to be those of them who fail in their responsibility. They are supposed to just, because of the fact that they promised and they failed to fulfill their promise, they should be sentenced to jail. They should be prosecuted for defrauding the people, for promising and failing. That is the real problem that is facing our dear nation. Lack of accountability. And by the time you muzzle up, trying to make the government to be accountable, they see you as rebel. And they try to hunt you at all costs. And that is the problem of our dear nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tunde, for calling. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Welcome to Perspectives.
Okay, my name is Buba Umar.
Buba, thank you for joining us. Go ahead.
Yeah, all the rights mentioned by you this morning are enshrined in our constitution. And relatively, there are one of the 10 policies of which our politicians have made or constantly making it for us. Now, the issue why we didn't get it right is that the leadership in place is a hijacked leadership. That's why we have this problem. So it's not the issue where to place or find out how accountable leaders are. Now you run a government where people are not inclusive.
But Umar, these problems have been with us from time immemorial. These problems have been with us as far back as the 60s and the 60s and even 70s.
Of course, It has lingered for quite some time. In fact, if what we were reaching now is not the democratic, the real democracy we see everywhere in the world. And what we must know that we are part of the global system. Whether we do it now or at any time, we should have to go with the globalism. That's what we are saying. So, in a state whereby you see, in fact, one of these, this regime, the current one that are now on throne now, if we are to tell you that they make mention of opening up for people. Now, I give you a typical example. They say that town hall meetings and other things should be held so that people will be cooperated into the system. But all of a sudden, did you see any town hall meeting? And moreover, if there is any town hall meeting, are there the expected people who have flights to go there and seek for flights? But that other things you have to know. So, where did we get it wrong is the problem. So, in a nutshell, we have to go back to the drawing board and see, okay, why is it that leadership now has not been people oriented? And it's wrong for a leader to always think that people are not part of the system. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Buba Omar, for lending your voice to the conversation. Well, Kaduna State, for instance, this is our home state. Kaduna State, for instance, runs an open government partnership, which means that there's information everywhere you can ask, and these information will be provided. Get onto, the platform. There's also the Kaduna Eye and Ear initiative going on. There's an app. You can download that app and also monitor projects around you. The app is simple to use. Go there, type in your location or wherever it is that you are, and the projects going on around that area would be made available to you, and you can track and monitor and and also report misgivings around those projects. It's very important that you know that, and that's an accountability mechanism in Kaduna State. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Perspectives.
You're welcome. My name is Kai calling from Haifa.
Tai, thank you for being here.
You see, what we're having in this country, the problem we're having in this country, number one is, there is no trust between the people and the government. Because right now, every politician comes, say all his brouhaha, at the end of the day, he doesn't fulfill his promise. Let's tell ourselves the truth. Everything still go down on the poor man working on the street, because the taxation, this present dispensation, are loading on the poor man working on the street. It's not something to talk about. So seriously, there is no trust, there is lack of trust. We no longer trust the dispensation, the present dispensation. That's why I see most of this problem we keep facing. And until the government open up and tell us this is right, then before we now start believing them, then things will start working on place. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Have Nigerians ever had to trust the government? This is something that's lingered for a while now. I know how people would say things were better in the 60s and the 70s, and even in the early 80s. But if should that be the testimony of a nation that is supposed to be progressive and one that should advance from one level, of goodness to another? Is that what we're seeing in this country, or we have a deteriorating nation or an economy that is nosediving by the day? What is the situation? We're still grappling with a lot as a nation. If healthcare, education, basic skill acquisition and nutrition are still issues 60 years after we got independence, then what is the future for us? Where are we going? How well can we say this nation would be in the next 10, 20 years if the people who are supposed to be future leaders are not getting quality education? We need to do better. We need to rise up as a people, to maybe even begin to begin to hold leaders accountable. There's mechanisms for all of this. Civil society. What is civil society doing? How much is civil society, doing to hold government accountable and people in authority? How well are we doing to make sure that what is due to us comes to us as a people? We're talking a couple of days ago, I think 2 days ago, and we mentioned how Nigerians almost provide everything for themselves, including roads these days. People take it upon themselves to construct roads that leads to their houses. Probably because government may not be interested in doing that. There's a lot on government plates, as I say it. People provide water and electricity for themselves. What are we doing as a nation? Where are we heading to? We need to begin to do better as citizens, because it behooves on citizens to hold the government accountable. Government cannot be different from the citizens, because society is what provides leadership for every state. We're still talking with you. 081 40,000 989. That is 081 40,000 989 and 070 87 800 989. The welfare of the Nigerian citizen. How serious is it been taken? How serious does the Nigerian citizen even take care or even care about their own welfare? All of this is what we're talking about this morning on Perspectives. Lend your voice to the conversation. 081 40,000 989 and 070 87 800 989. I've told you about certain mechanisms that can be used to hold not just government but also service providers accountable in Kaduna State. Now, just to remind you, there is the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund that's supposed to take care of citizens' health care. There's the National Health Insurance Scheme. All of these, are provided so that Nigerians can have access to quality health care. How well do you utilize this? How well do you even know about this? Do you even know what you're entitled to as a Nigerian citizen? If you do not ask, you may not find answers. Begin to dig deeper now to understand what is due you as a Nigerian citizen. And as a citizen of Kaduna State, as we love to say it, you are entitled to a lot of things. Until you begin to ask the right questions and hold the right people accountable, you may not be doing the right thing, right? Sometimes it's not even about government. Sometimes government puts in place these structures and put in place these facilities and all, but the people they put in charge, or who are regular citizens like you and I, also shortchange us. Another caller is here. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. What's your name?
This is Clement Iduma.
Clement.
Iduma.
Thank you for being here. Go ahead.
Why we are suffering today in Nigeria is all about the corruption we have been talking about. See, if the big men on top, right from 1960, we are able to train the children of the poor, their children will not be anywhere to compete with us. Most of their children are not trained. While you see in higher institutions, their children come to the children of the poor to learn many things in private. You even write for them sometimes. Apart from that one, take note, the children of the poor, how many of them go to overseas for higher learning? I was hearing over the radio sometimes that about 23,000 Nigerian students from US we are supposed to come during this COVID-19. If they are lucky to have graduated and they come back home, then compete with our children in the universities here. Our children here will even be following them back to back, begging them for 10 naira. In the near future, they will become the highest political leader. Our children who finish from Nigerian poor schools here We continue to follow them. That's how we are following them. I am an old man of age already. That's how my children are following the men's children now. Just because they refuse to train the children of the poor. Because they know if they train them, they will have problems. But take note again. There was a saying by Awolowo in those days. He said nothing in Nigeria is free apart from the air you breathe. Even the air, the quality ones you cannot get it, you are only getting the local one. So my brother, it is only God that will help us out to.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on the program this morning. Thank you, Mr. Clement. One other question would be, if the elite did not train the children of the poor, how much is the poor doing to also raise their children? I mentioned earlier, more children mean more school fees now, and it means that if you cannot afford it, then your children will not get education. Do we continue to rely and depend on wait for the elite to help us train our children? If that's so, as it is, we see that that's not going to happen. So why don't we begin to take practical steps to ensure that we are able to raise our children, and give them the best education and healthcare possible from what we can afford. All right, I say it all the time. It's a practical thing. I read it somewhere a couple of weeks ago. If one man who earns 50,000 has a man and wife earn 50,000 naira monthly, and they have one child, it would mean that they can to a large extent provide for that child. But if the same couple make 50,000 and they have 4 children, you do the math. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we would close Perspectives today on Invicta 98.9. My name is Iheanacho Prince. Thank you very much for being a part of it. We'll do well to join us again on Monday when the program comes back. Hopefully, Tony Alabi, your regular host, will be here at that time. Stay with us on the victorious side of life, Invicta 98.9.